Today, we are asking one uncomfortable question. When political parties in Nigeria conduct primaries, are Nigerians truly witnessing democracy, or are they merely watching a decision already made behind closed doors? Because once again, the controversy surrounding the various primaries has reopened old wounds about manipulation, elite control, and the dangerous collapse of internal democracy in Nigeria. Some aspirants allegedly complain of intimidations. Others claim the process was skewed long before delegates voted. There were whispers of strategic disqualification, pressure to step down, negotiation behind hotel doors, and the familiar Nigerian political language, consensus. But here is the real question. If candidates are already decided before voting begins, then what exactly are delegates doing there? What is the meaning of a primary election? And more importantly, what does Nigerian law actually say? The big illusion of party primary. Let us be honest, this is not just about the APC. This is bigger than one party. Nigeria has seen controversial primaries across almost every political party platform, especially the major ones, from the People's Democratic Party to the APC, from governorship races to senatorial tickets. Allegations are often the same. Names disappear mysteriously, aspirants suddenly withdraw, delegates reportedly change alliance overnight, and in some cases, courts later discover that the winner submitted to Independent National Electoral Commission was not even the person who actually won the primary. So Nigerians are asking, are primaries genuine democratic contests or ceremonial performances designed to legitimize elite decisions? Because if the outcome is predetermined, then democracy becomes theater and voters become spectators. How party primary really work? Now let us simplify this. Under Nigerian law, political parties are expected to conduct either direct primaries, indirect primaries, through delegate or consensus arrangement. This is recognized under the Nigerian Electoral Act. But here is where things become complicated. Political parties in Nigeria operate almost like private clubs. Yes, they are public institutions in practice, but legally, parties still enjoy enormous powers over who contests under their platform. This is where the controversial idea of party supremacy comes in. Party supremacy simply means the party leadership often has the final word, not ordinary members, not even sometimes the delegates, and certainly not the Nigerian voters. So when party executives decide who is acceptable, the entire process can begin tightening long before the first ballot is cast. Now let's look at the screening question, because this is where many controversies begin. Before any aspirant reaches delegates, the party screens candidates. Officially, this is meant to verify qualifications, but critics argue that screening committees sometimes become political weapons, and aspirants may suddenly be disqualified for vague reasons. Another may be cleared despite obvious controversies. Some are allegedly pressured to withdraw for party unity. Others are reportedly convinced that the ticket is not for them, and this has happened repeatedly in Nigerian politics. Governors have lost tickets, senators have been removed, House of Representative members have protested outcome. Even powerful political figures have suddenly discovered that influence means nothing when the party structure turns against them. And the ordinary Nigerian watches all this and wonders, if elected officials themselves cannot survive internal democracy, then what hope exists for ordinary citizens? And the courts interfere? Now, this is where the legal battle becomes fascinating. For years, Nigerian courts were extremely reluctant to interfere in party affairs. Judges often describe primaries as internal matters, meaning political parties could largely do as they please. But over time, something changed. Why? Because party manipulation became too blatant to ignore. Courts began stepping in where there were clear violations of Electoral Act, party constitution, or constitutional provisions. We have seen Nigerian court overturn candidates. We have seen candidates removed after elections because primaries were flawed. We have even seen people sworn into office only to lose everything because the primary that produced them was legally defective. This is how powerful primary elections have become. In fact, some lawyers argue that the real election in Nigeria is no longer the general election. It is the party primary. Because once a candidate secures the ticket of a dominant party, victory often becomes easier, and that makes manipulation at the primary level even more dangerous. Now let's look at the delegate system, democracy or a marketplace. Let us discuss delegate. In theory, delegates represent party members. They are supposed to vote independently, but critics argue that delegate politics in Nigeria has become heavily monetized. Voters become political battleground, lobbying intensifies, last-minute negotiations begin, and suddenly ideology disappears. What remains? Power, money, structure, influence. This is why many Nigerians believe that ordinary party members no longer determine candidates. Political godfathers do, elite coalition do, power brokers do, and that perception is dangerous for democracy. Because once citizens stop believing in political fairness, voter apathy rises, public anger grows, and democracy starts losing legitimacy. Now, the APC controversy and the bigger message. Supporters of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu insisted he legitimately won the APC primary through superior political structure, nationwide alliances, and delegate support. They argue that politics is not charity, that building influence over decades matters, and that every aspirant entering the contest or who entered the contest knowing the reality of party politics. But critics say something else entirely. They argue that Nigerian politics increasingly reward proximity to power rather than open competition, that powerful interests can shape outcome before delegates even arrive, and that internal democracy in Nigeria is slowly collapsing under the weight of elite bargaining. So the controversy is no longer only about who won, it is whether the process itself inspires confidence. History keeps repeating itself. Nigeria has seen this before. Controversial primaries have rocked different parties and several state-level contests. In some cases, parallel primaries were conducted, multiple candidates emerged, court delivered contradictory judgments, party members openly rebelled. The pattern keeps repeating because the underlying problem remains unsolved. Who truly owns political parties in Nigeria? The members or the power elite? What this means for 2027? Now the biggest concern, because what happens inside political parties today will shape Nigeria's future tomorrow. Nigerians increasingly believe that candidates are selected instead of elected. Trust in democracy may continue collapsing. Young people may disengage further. Voters may conclude elections are merely elite negotiations. Democracy without public trust becomes dangerously fragile. But there is another possibility: public pressure, legal reform, stronger internal democracy, transparent delegate system, independent monitoring of party primaries, and perhaps most importantly, political parties remembering that democracy does not begin on election day, it begins inside the parties themselves. Now my final thoughts on this one. Here is the uncomfortable truth though. Nigeria's democratic crisis may not begin at the ballot box. It may begin long before Nigerians ever see votes or ever vote. Inside hotel rooms, inside screening committees, inside party headquarters, inside negotiations individual or negotiations invisible to ordinary citizens. Because when internal democracy dies quietly, national democracy eventually suffers publicly. And until political parties become more transparent, more accountable, and more democratic internally, many Nigerians will continue asking the same painful questions. Are we truly choosing leaders, or are leaders simply being presented to us after powerful people have already decided? That question determines the future of Nigerian democracy itself. I rest my case on this one. We're to join the next episode. Thank you.